when I gave my life to Jesus at 17, and I remember the Lord giving me, certain dreams and visions, and I thought at 17, I'm like, oh, I was so ready for it. I was like, let's go. Um, but in my mind, being a new believer, I thought that these dreams and visions were like for tomorrow, like they were going to happen tomorrow. God is weaving your life together, even when it feels like the promise seems so far away, or maybe a vision that the Lord has given you you don't see anything in sight. Okay. Or maybe it's something that you've been praying for a long time and you don't see the fruit of your prayers. Maybe you're a single mom that is struggling. Maybe you're a woman that is wondering, when is my time? Okay, the Lord sees you, and God is weaving your life together. Even all the trials, the pain, the sorrow, the ups and the downs, God is working it all for good. Here are three things to keep in mind as you are walking in your walk with the Lord, as you are just growing in your relationship with the Lord, that there are going to be times that when what you're praying for, you're not seeing the results, or what you felt the Lord promised you. You don't see it. You don't see the fruit of it. It doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. The promise seems so far away. Okay, God's got this, and He has you in the palm of His hands. He is in control. He knows the beginning and the end. He is the Alpha, the Omega, okay? And God is working everything out for your good. I remember when I gave my life to Jesus at 17, and I remember the Lord giving me, certain dreams and visions, and I thought at 17, I'm like, oh, I was so ready for it. I was like, let's go. Um, but in my mind, being a new believer, I thought that these dreams and visions were like for tomorrow, like they were going to happen tomorrow. And I was doing everything in my will, in my power to make sure that it was done. But I had to remember, and my pastor had to remind me that, there was certain biblical principles that I needed to follow, and I needed to surrender to God. Okay, because it's not us that makes things happen. It is this God's timing, God's spirit, God working in our lives. So, when we think of weaving is like a pattern, and it takes time. It's not something that's done overnight. But when you see the finished product, it's beautiful, and you see that it was all worth the labor that it took to weave that pattern. I don't know if anybody does sewing here, but patience has its perfect work, but God is always working behind the scenes in the process. So there has also been many times in my life when I was like, this is not what I thought life would look like, or how life would turn out, or how I thought the vision, the dream that God gave me, how it would turn out. Because, we have our perspective, we have our expectations, and we have a limited understanding, okay? But God has no limit. God, you know, He is beyond our understanding. And so we have to trust God's process, and knowing that He always does things because He loves us, because He knows what's best for us, because He is your Heavenly Father. So that also brings me to the next point of this message, that God is using those rough patches in your life. You can also call them trials, hardships, struggles. He's even working in those areas to accomplish His perfect will for your life, because God cares more about how we are in the inside than us reaching our destination, which is called character. He cares more about our character than our destination. I can see now that if the Lord gave me what I wanted at 17, I wasn't ready for it. I was not ready for it. The circumstances were not right for it. And I thank God that He did not give me what I wanted when I wanted it, because I was not ready in any shape or form, even though at that time I was convinced I was ready for. So during those rough patches, during those times where it's a struggle, I want to tell you, surrender to the Lord. There was a time in my life when I was off my feet for 6 months. I had broken my foot with it was a severe Liz Frank injury, and there was crushed bones, ligaments, and it was a part of my life where I was super busy. I was working out of school, and it was the beginning of the school year, and when I was needed the most, from my perspective, I broke my foot, and this was a severe injury. Well, little did I know that the Lord had knocked me off of my feet to get me back on my knees, to prepare me for one of the hardest things that I went through, which I also shared with y'all about the passing, about my best friend passing. So the Lord knew that my heart, He cared about me and loved me so much that He knew that my heart and my mind needed to be prepared for her passing. So I was knocked off my feet to get me back on my knees. And I will share later more of a that's just a testimony, because good came out of that. Good came out of that. But it wasn't until time passed that I realized how God was working that out. Okay. And I am so grateful, because when my best friend passed away, I was able to sit at the Lord's feet. I was able to sit in His presence and just soak up His presence. And I believe that it prepared my heart and my mind for one of the greatest trials. And I know that the Lord, He taught me so much. He taught me so much during that severe foot injury, and not being able to be on my feet for 6 months. And when I said working out our character, like He cares more about our character than the destination. Okay, so the Lord showed me like how I didn't want help, when I had to. I had a sweet friend, she had to help me at school in the wheelchair, and I did not like having someone to push me around to wheel me around in the wheelchair. I did not like the feeling, and God was showing me like that's pride. Okay, I did not like that, but He shows us what's in us and what needs to come out, because He's always preparing you for the future. He's weaving your life together, even when it doesn't feel good, even when it seems painful. He's working it out for your good. He's weaving your life together. So remember, it says that God's timing is not our timing. Our expectations are not God's expectations. And there are going to be times where you're going to be like, where it is going to require of you, and it's always a healthy posture to surrender your will, your desire, your expectations, and lay it at the feet of Jesus, because God is wanting more than anything to have a personal, intimate relationship with you that is real, not based upon what you can get out of the relationship. Who wants to be in a relationship just based upon what you can get out of the relationship? But He wants you to just bask in His presence, to spend time with Him, to hear what He has to say, because oftentimes, actually always, what God has to say is always more important than what we have to say. Matthew 6 tells us, "But seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, knowing that as we do, that we will have all that we need." And oftentimes in life we worry about things that God did not call us to worry about, things that sometimes don't even happen. And this is referring to what, when we worry about what are we going to eat, what are we going to wear. Okay, but God cares about every part of our life. Okay, and I've always seen in my life, when I put God first, God takes care of everything else. This is me being saved for 20 years. Put God first, and God takes care of everything else. And it might not always be how you want it to look like. It might not always meet your expectations, but you will have what you need. Now, God is a God of faithfulness. And now, Jesus taught us, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be open. So don't give up, sis, on whether it is a dream or a vision that the Lord gave you, if it's a promise. You continue to keep asking, keep seeking, keep knocking, and enjoy His presence. Enjoy the destination and the process. Allow God to work out those rough patches for His glory. Okay, it's gonna be worth it. It was in the deepest trials of my life that God worked the most in me. Okay, and it is surrendering to Him and His will, His process, knowing that your Heavenly Father really loves you. He made you, He cares for you, He knows nothing can happen unless it gets past God first. Okay, let me say that again. Nothing can happen unless it gets God's attention first. Okay, so everything that touches your life has to go past God first. Trust Him and He will work it out for your good. Okay. Hello, my name is Amanda, and I make faith-based content for women after God's own heart. So I invite you to like and subscribe. Would love to have you join this Grace and Fire family. God bless you.